Welcome everyone. My name is Jeb. This is Chelsea. I'll be leading class today and Chelsea will be demoing. So why don't we come to our hands and knees to get started. And then take your knees wide, bring your big toes to touch. Lower your hips onto your heels and settle into your child's pose. And we'll begin this class, as we begin every class, by building a practice breath. And you can start just by paying attention to your breath. You don't need to change anything about it at first. Just notice it. The same breath you walked to your mat with. Same breath that was there when you sat down. And feel what it is to inhale and to exhale. Noticing where those inhales might make your body a bit bigger. And where your exhales soften it down. Helping you get into some nooks and crannies that you maybe couldn't quite reach before. Now, we'll take a little bit of active control of your breath. Liking to balance inhales and exhales. Having them each last for about 4 seconds. And from there, we'll begin to connect some movement to your breath. And we'll start really small. Just press your hands against the mat, and with an inhale, pull back, lengthen in your spine. And then with an exhale, push the mat away from you. Get a little bit deeper into your hips. Inhale, pull long. And exhale, press back. As much as anything else, we're building the habit of letting your breath initiate, shape, and time your movement. And we'll come back to that over and over again in this class. And keeping your body close to the mat, walk your hands over to the right-hand side. Anchor down through your left hip, and then with an inhale, get long on the left side of your body. And exhale, soften. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, release. Last big reaching inhale. Exhale, walk your hands back to center. And then all the way over to the left-hand side. And taking a moment, anchor your right hip down towards your right heel. And then with your inhale, get long on the right side of your body. And exhale, soften. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, release. Last inhale here. And then as you exhale, walk your hands back to center. And come forward to your tabletop, stacking shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Reach your right leg back, rest your toes on the mat, and then lift your leg up until it's hip height. If you would like to add additional challenge, you can reach your left arm forward at the same time. Let your first inhale be all about getting as long as you can. And then with an exhale, tuck your knee to your chest, your forehead close to your knee. You can reach your arm back if it's lifted. And then with an inhale, reach long. Exhale, squeeze into center. Last big reaching inhale. Exhale, tuck into center. And then return to your tabletop. Take a moment to get stable here again, and then when you're ready, reach your left leg back, rest your toes on the floor, press into your heel to engage your leg, and then lift your leg up until it's the same height as your hip. Option to add on by reaching your right arm forward. Let your next inhale be all about just getting as long as you can. And then with an exhale, tuck into center. Inhale, reach. Exhale, contract. Last big reaching inhale. Exhale, squeeze in. and then return to your tabletop. Curl your toes under, lift your knees as you straighten your legs, come into your down dog. And this may be your first down dog of the day, so take your time to explore it. You can shift, you can shimmy, you can do anything else that helps you figure out what your down dog needs to look like for you today. And then as you begin to figure that out, you can remove any of the extra movements, one at a time, till eventually you settle into stillness. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. With an exhale, walk to the top of your mat. And take your feet wider than your hips. And then take hold of your elbows with your hands. And add a little side to side sway. Being very loose, very soft in your upper body. Keeping this very gentle. We'll have lots of time to explore our edge as the practice progresses. And pause at center. And release your fingertips down to the mat. Heel toe your feet close together. Staying soft in your knees with an inhale, unroll, rise all the way up. Shoulders over hips first. Hands reaching overhead last. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to your high plank. Spend an exhale, lowering your body down to the mat. And place your hands under your shoulders, point your toes to the back of your mat. With an inhale, lift your chest and gaze. And exhale, lower back down. Inhale, press up to your high plank. And exhale, move back to your down dog. And get comfortable with the distance between your hands and feet. If you need to shorten or lengthen your stance, you can do that now. And then, keeping your hands and feet exactly where they are, bend your knees deeply, move your body back towards your legs. With an inhale, lift your hips as you straighten your legs. And with an exhale, press your heels towards the mat. And we'll do that all one more time. Bend your knees, take your body back. Inhale, lift your hips as you straighten your legs. And exhale, press your heels towards the floor. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. And with an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. And then with an inhale, unroll, rise all the way up. Shoulders over hips first. Hands reaching overhead last. And as soon as your palms touch, begin your exhale, dive forward. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step or jump back. Keeping your elbows close to your body, lower halfway down. Inhale, lift your chest as you point your toes. And exhale, slide back to your down dog. And we'll spend a few breaths here, just taking the time to connect with your breath, making sure that your breath continues to lead your movements. With an inhale, take your gaze between your hands. And with an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. And then sit back into your chair pose. Take a little bit of weight to the outside edge of your feet. And let your attention travel up as far as your knees, making sure they've stayed hip distance apart, not pressed together or splayed apart. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to your mat, step or jump back. With an exhale, lower down, halfway or all the way, your choice. Inhale, lift your chest as you point your toes. And exhale, slide back to your down dog. And come up onto the balls of your feet, create lots of space underneath your body. Lift your right leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot down as gently as you can. And come up onto your fingertips, lengthening your spine. Finally rise up into your lunge. And when you feel balanced here, you can lift your arms into the air. Exhale, fold forward. Step back and flow through to your down dog. And come back up onto the balls of your feet. Lift your left leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot down. Lengthen in your spine, and rise up into your lunge. And you can add on by lifting your arms as soon as you like, but no rush to get there. Exhale, fold forward. Step back. We'll all meet up in down dog. And as we spend a few breaths here in down dog, remember that this is meant to be a restful posture. And if at any point you feel like this posture is not giving you the rest that your body needs, know that you can lower your knees down, take tabletop, child's pose, any other posture that works for you. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. And with an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. And then sit back into your chair pose. If you're craving a little bit more challenge for your balance this time, you can come up onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels. Exhale, fold forward, lowering your heels if they're lifted. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to your mat, step or jump back, and then flow through to your down dog, taking as much or as little movement as you would like to get there. Lift your right leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, hover your foot, not placing it down. Inhale, lift your leg back up. Exhale, forward, knee to the back of your right arm, as high up as you can get it. And lift your leg back up. Exhale, forward, knee across your body to the back of your left arm. Keep your knee where it is, straighten your leg, let your foot rest on the floor. And then, if you would like to add it on, you can lift your left arm. Lower your arm if it's lifted. Lift your leg back into the air. And finally, step your foot forward next to your hand. Take your time, build a stable base here. And then when you're ready, rise up into your lunge. Lift your arms into the air, press your palms together, then draw your hands down to your heart. Will you continue to stand tall and keep your hands at your heart? Twist to the right hand side. From there, you can reach your left arm forward, right arm back. Follow your breath as you inhale, engage, get tall. Exhale, soften and twist. Inhale, tall. Exhale, twist. And then come back through center, lift your arms into the air. As slowly as you can. Bring your hands down to the mat. When your hands eventually find the mat, step back to your high plank and move through to your down dog. Lift your left leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, hovering your foot strong and engaged. Inhale, lift your leg back up. Exhale forward, knee to the back of your left arm as high up as you can get it. And inhale, rise back up. Exhale forward, knee across your body to the back of your right arm. Pin your knees, straighten your leg, let your foot rest on the floor. Option to lift your left arm. That's the one. Lower your arm if it's lifted. Lift your leg back into the air. And finally, step your foot forward next to your hand. Take your time, build a stable base. When you're ready, rise up into your lunge, lift your arms into the air. Press your palms together, draw them down to your heart. Twist to the left. And then from here, you can reach your right arm forward, left arm back. Letting your breath guide you the rest of the way into your posture. As you inhale, engage the muscles of your midsection. Let that make you taller. And then soften those same muscles just enough to twist a little bit deeper. Inhale, tall. Exhale, twist. And come back to center, lift your arms into the air. And then as slowly as you can, bring your hands down to the mat. Step back. And find your way to your down dog. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. And with an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. And then sit back into your chair pose. And just like before, if you would like to challenge your balance, you can rise up onto the balls of your feet. If you would like to challenge your strength at the same time, with an exhale, lower your hips down to your heels. And take that whole exhale to get down there. And then just as slowly, with an inhale, float back up to your chair pose. Exhale, fold forward, lowering your heels if they're lifted. Inhale to lift up halfway. And exhale, hands to your mat, step or jump back. Flow through to your down dog. Lift your right leg into the air. Keeping your leg lifted, bend your knee, and then stack your right hip over top of the left. And draw some really small circles in the air with your knee. And then with each rotation, let the circle get a little bit bigger until eventually your knee is coming almost all the way forward to your chest. If you would like to flip your dog, you can take your foot all the way across to the floor, reach your right arm forward. Hopefully you don't have a wall in your way at home. Make your way back to your high plank. And then flow through to your down dog. Lift your right leg back into the air. And tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot down nice and wide, as close to the long side of your mat as you have so far today. And when you have a very stable base here, come up into your lunge, lift your arms into the air. Press your palms together, draw them down to your heart. And keeping your hands at your heart, fold forward. And then add your twist to the right hand side, letting your left elbow come to your forward knee. And following your breath again, as you inhale, lengthen in your spine. As you exhale, soften into your twist. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, soften into the space you just created. Last inhale here. Exhale, twist as deeply as you will on this side. And then come back up through center, lift your arms into the air. Exhale, fold forward. Step back. And we'll all meet up in down dog. Lift your left leg into the air. Bend your knees, stack your hip, take your circles, starting really small, focusing on control. And then with each rotation, letting the circle get a little bit bigger, letting go of some of that control. And if you would like to flip your dog, you can take your foot all the way across to the floor, the left arm reaches forward. Use a big inhale here, lift your hips as high as you can. And make your way back to your high plank. And from your high plank, flow through to your down dog. Lift your left leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot down nice and wide. Take all the time you need to build that stable base. And then when you're ready, rise up into your lunge, lift your arms into the air. Press your palms together, draw them down to your heart. Keeping your hands at your heart, fold forward. And then add your twist to the left. Inhale, lengthen in your spine. Exhale, soften into your twist. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, soften into the space you just created. Last inhale here. And then as you exhale, twist as deeply as you will. And come back up through center, lift your arms into the air. And with an exhale, bring both hands down to the mat. Step back and flow through to your down dog. Take a few easy breaths here. If it feels at all like your breath has gotten away from you, take an extra long inhale through your nose and sigh it out through your mouth. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. With an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. And then sit back into your chair pose. So I'm going to offer a series of options for adding on here. Give yourself permission to experiment, but also permission to discover that a certain expression of this posture is not for you, and allow yourself to move back to one that is. So first option for adding on is to rise up onto the balls of your feet. Next is to lower your hips down to your heels. If you would like to keep adding on from here, lower your knees towards the mat, focusing on placing them against it as gently as you can when you get there. Take your hands to your hips, and then bring your hips over top of your knees. Begin to open your chest towards the ceiling, moving towards your camel pose. If this is feeling comfortable and you would like to move deeper, take one hand down to your heel. And if that still feels comfortable, you can take the other hand down. And then moving out with the same care you moved in, take one hand up to your low back for support, and then the other. Stack your shoulders over top of your knees. And now for the really challenging part. See if you can lift your knees back up without placing your hands on the ground. I'm glad Chelsea's the one in front of the camera for this. And come back up to your chair pose. Exhale, fold forward, lowering your heels. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step or jump back. We'll all meet up in down dog. Bring your big toes to touch. Lift your right leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot centered between your hands. Spin your back foot parallel to the back of your mat. Press down to the outside edge of your back foot, and with an inhale, rise up into your warrior two. Hips and shoulders face the long side of your mat. Take your gaze out over your front fingers. Option to stay right where you are. If you would like to add on, you can bring your right forearm down to your leg, reach your left arm into the air. From here, with an exhale, you can take your top arm across your low back. And that's your half bind. If you would like to take your full bind, you can reach your bottom arm underneath your leg, back up around. And if your hands find one another behind your back, clasp on. And if your hand doesn't quite reach, you can take hold of a piece of clothing. Whichever version of this posture you're in, think about rolling your left shoulder back, opening up through your chest. Exhale, bring both hands down to the mat. Step back and find your way to your down dog, taking as much or as little movement as you would like on the way there. And bring your big toes to touch. Lift your left leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot centered between your hands. Spin your back foot parallel to the back of your mat. With an inhale, rise up into your warrior two. Again, option to stay right where you are. But if you would like to add on, take your left forearm down to your leg, reach your right arm into the air. With an exhale, take your top arm across your low back. And then, if you'd like to take your full bind, reach down underneath your leg, back up around with your bottom arm. Let your hands find one another behind your back. Roll your right shoulder back. Exhale, bring both hands down to the mat. Step back and flow through to your down dog. With an inhale, bring your gaze between your hands. And with an exhale, come to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. And exhale to soften forward. And take your feet wider than your hips. And get soft in your knees until it's comfortable to wrap your peace fingers around your big toes. If you'd like to stay here, keeping it restful, you can. If you'd like to add a little bit of stretching in while you continue to hold on to your toes, with an inhale, lift up and away from your legs. And with an exhale, soften back towards them. Inhale, lift up, add that tension back in. And exhale, erase it completely. Let go of your toes. And bring your feet close together. With an inhale, unroll up to stand. And when you get to the top this time, just roll your shoulders down your back. Turn your palms forward. Take a big breath in. And out. Reach your right arm forward. And bend your elbow to 90 degrees. Wrap your right arm under. If your palms will touch comfortably, bring them together. And if that's not comfortable, take your hands to your shoulders instead. Float your elbows up to shoulder height. If you're looking for a deeper stretch in your shoulders, you can move your hands away from your face. In a moment, we'll sit towards chair pose. If you would like to include eagle legs, take your right leg across the front of your left, and then anyone who would like to can sit back towards chair pose. If you're including eagle legs, think about taking your toes towards the back of your ankle. And that's just a direction you're moving your foot, not a requirement for it to reach. If you'd like to add on even more with an exhale, take your elbows down to your knees. And then with an inhale, float back up. Whichever version of the posture you're in, we'll share one last big inhale, stretch wide through the back of your shoulders. And then with an exhale, release, unwind, bring both feet to the mat, both arms by your sides. Roll your shoulders down your back, turn your palms forward. Give yourself a breath here to reset. And then when you're ready, reach your right arm forward. And bend your elbow. Wrap your left arm under and around. Palms can come to touch or to your shoulders. Float your elbows up to shoulder height. And option to move your hands further away from your face. If you're including eagle legs on this side, take your left leg across the front of your right, and then anyone who would like to can sit back towards chair pose. If you're looking to add on a little bit more, with an exhale, take your elbows down to your knees. And then with an inhale, float back up. We'll share that last big inhale, stretch wide through the back of your shoulders. And then with an exhale, release, unwind. Bring your feet to the mat, your arms to your sides. Roll your shoulders down your back, turn your palms forward. Give yourself that breath to reset. Lift your right knee towards your chest. Wrap your hands around your knees, squeeze it in close. And then, keeping your left hand on your right knee, reach your right arm back, opening your body to the right hand side. If you're craving additional challenge for your balance, you can take hold of your big toe with your peace fingers, straightening your leg in front of you. And come back through center, place your hands on your hips, and straighten your leg in front of you. And for just one breath, lift it as high as you can. And then with an exhale, fold forward, bring your fingertips down to the mat, take your legs straight out behind you. Level your hips, and then if you would like to challenge your balance, you can lift your arms, taking them long beside your body. If your arms are lifted, bring your fingertips down to the mat. And then bring your right foot down beside your left. Soften into your forward fold. With an inhale and roll, rise all the way up. Give yourself a breath here. And then lift your left knee towards your chest. Wrap your hands around your knees, squeeze it in close. Then keeping your right hand on your knee, reach your left arm back, opening your body to the left-hand side. Option to take hold of your big toe, straightening your leg. And come back through center, place your hands on your hips, straighten your leg in front of you, and for just one breath, lift your leg as high as you can. Exhale, fold forward, bring your fingertips to the mat, your legs straight out behind you. Level your hips, and then option to lift your arms long beside your body. Bring your fingertips down to the mat, and then bring your left foot down beside your right. Soften into your forward fold. With an inhale and roll, rise all the way up. When you get to the top, roll your shoulders down your back, turn your palms forward, take a big breath in. And out. Take all of the weight into your left foot. And then bring the heel of your right foot against the inside of your left ankle, or your foot further up your leg. Just be careful not to push sideways on your knee. Then bring your hands to heart center. Interlace your fingers. Press your palms towards the floor. And take your hands across the floor, up the wall, across the ceiling. When your arms arrive overhead, open into your full expression of tree, whatever that looks like for you. Bring your palms to touch. Draw your hands down to your heart. And release your arms to your side. Bring the sole of your right foot against the mat, and then transition all of your weight into your right foot, bringing the heel of your left foot against the inside of your right ankle or your foot further up your leg. Interlace your hands, press your palms towards the floor, and then take your palms across the floor, up the wall, across the ceiling, and then open into your full expression of tree, whatever that looks like for you. And for just 1 second, take a glance at your screen if you aren't. Chelsea has done the most challenging thing that you can possibly do, which is be on camera and not take the hardest version of a posture. She kept her toes on the floor because that's what her body is looking for today. Bring your hands to touch overhead. Draw your hands down to your heart. Release your arms to your sides. And your left foot down to the mat. Inhale, lift both arms into the air. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat. Step back to your high plank. Flow all the way through to your down dog. Bring your big toes to touch. Lift your right leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot centered between your hands. Spin your back foot parallel to the back of your mat. With an inhale, rise up into your warrior two. And take your back arm across your low back and turn your front palm up. Lean forward and then scoop back into your exalted warrior, letting your gaze settle on your palm. Return to your warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Shift your hips back, your body forward. Bring your right hand down to your leg as you reach your left arm into the air. And then turn your gaze up, letting it settle on your thumbnail or all the way up to the ceiling. And come back up to stand. Place your hands on your hips, spin your right toes to face the long side of your mat. With an inhale, stand up as tall as you can. Then keeping some of that shape in your body, fold forward, bring your hands down to the mat. If this is as far as your body wants to go in your forward fold, stay here. If you would like to go further, spin your fingers to point round behind you, and then begin to walk your hands back. Let your inhales remind you to straighten and lengthen in your spine. And let your exhales help you search for a little bit more space in your fold. We'll spend a bit of time here, letting your breath help you balance those two parts of this posture. Bring your hands back underneath your chest. Notice the extra stability that creates. Use that stability as you spin your front toes to face the front of your mat, and then soften in your front knee as you walk your hands around to frame your foot. Step back to your high plank and flow through to your down dog. And bring your big toes to touch. Lift your left leg into the air. Tuck your knee to your chest, slide forward, place your foot centered between your hands. Spin your back foot parallel to the back of your mat, and with an inhale, rise up into your warrior two. And take a moment just to be in this posture, not thinking about where you're going next. letting this posture, this breath, this instant be the entirety of your practice. Take your back arm across your low back. Turn your front palm up. Lean forward, and then scoop back. And return to your warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Shift your hips back, your body forward, and when your body won't go any further forward, bring your hand down to your leg and reach your right arm towards the ceiling, remembering to turn your gaze up. And come back up to stand. Place your hands on your hips, spin your left toes to face the long side of your mat. Interlace your hands behind your back. Roll your shoulders down your back as you press your fingers towards the floor. And then with an exhale, fold forward. If you're looking for more sensation in your shoulders, first soften your elbows and then move your hands away from your low back. Bring both hands down to the mat. Using the extra stability that creates, spin your left toes to face the front of your mat. Soften in your knee as you walk your hands around to frame your foot. Step back to your high plank and flow through to your down dog. Spend an entire exhale lowering your knees down to the mat. When they get to the mat, place them against it as gently as you can. And lower your hips onto your heels, coming into your child's pose. From your child's pose, come forward to your tabletop. Stack shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And then keeping everything else exactly as it is, lower your stomach towards the floor, open your body towards the front of your mat, coming into your cow shape. And then we'll reverse that shape, lift your spine to the ceiling, look back at your legs, coming into your cat. Inhale into cow. Exhale into cat. And then just let your breath guide you back and forth between those two shapes. With your next exhale, find a neutral spine. Then take your feet out to the right, look back over your right shoulder at your feet, creating a C shape in your low back. Then take your feet to the left, look back over your left shoulder. Feet to the right, gaze to the right. Feet to the left, gaze to the left. And feet back to center, return to your child's pose. And keeping your body close to the mat, come forward onto your stomach. Take your arms long beside your body. Lift your chest and gaze to the front of the room. Lift your legs, point your toes to the back of the room. And finally lift your arms. Notice where your inhales lift you up a little. And where your exhales soften you down. Spend a few breaths surfing on your solar plexus. And then with an exhale, lower everything down to the mat. Rock your hips side to side, using that rocking motion to start to release any tension that may have built in your low back. And then pausing in your rocking, interlace your hands behind your back. Lift your chest and gaze to the front of your mat. Lift your legs, point your toes to the back. And if you have space, lift your hands away from your low back. Exhale, lower everything down. And again, take those rocking motions in your hips. And then pause the rocking in your hips. You can make a pillow for your forehead with your hands if you like. And bend your knees until the soles of your feet face the ceiling. With an exhale, lower your feet to the right. With an inhale, bring them back to center. And with an exhale, lower them to the left. And start to follow your breath, lifting on inhales, lowering on exhales. Keeping that movement slow, smooth, and breath speed. When your legs next pass through center, pause there. And then lower your legs all the way down to the mat. Make your way onto your back. And place your hands beside your hips, bring your feet in close to your body. Press into your feet, lift your hips up off the mat. Then bend your elbows, point your fingers towards the ceiling. With an inhale, lift your hips as high as you can. And then with an exhale, lower halfway down. Inhale, lift your hips as high as you can. And exhale, lower halfway down. Last inhale here, lift your hips as high as you can. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Place your hands wherever you like. Bring your knees over top of your chest. Press the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. Engage in your midsection. And then lower your legs halfway down. Pause there. Press into your heels. Re-engage in your midsection. And if you would like extra challenge, you can lift your shoulders, watching your legs lower until they're an inch from the mat. Bring your knees back over top of your chest. Press the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. Keeping your heels touching, make a V shape with your feet. Then lower your legs halfway down again. Option to lift your shoulders, watching your legs lower until they're an inch from the mat. And we'll hover here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your knees back over top of your chest. And take hold of your knees with your hands, draw them wider than your torso. If you'd like a deeper stretch, you can take hold of your feet coming into your happy baby. And if you'd like to add a little bit of side to side rocking against the mat to give your back a massage, go ahead and add that in. And release your feet. And then come to a comfortable seated position facing the front of your mat. I'm going to walk through the steps to move to Pigeon from here, but if you know you have any issues with your right knee, instead just pop onto your back and I'll describe a reclined Pigeon after. So sitting up tall, take your right fingers out to the right, your left leg out to the left. And then sweep your left leg around behind you. And that's going to put all of the weight into your right hip. Slowly roll that weight across till it's level between your right and your left hip. And when you feel comfortable here, you can take your chest and your forehead down towards the floor, settling into your Pigeon. If you're taking a reclined Pigeon, on your back, bring your left knee in close to your body, your left foot in close to your body. Take the outside edge of your right ankle to the front of your left knee. And then bring your knee in towards your body, remembering to keep the toes of your right foot lifting towards your shin the whole time. which will help protect your knee. We'll switch sides. If you're on your back, you can just switch the ankle that's against the knee. If you're on your stomach, lean first to the left, making space to wrap or lean first to the right, making space to wrap your left leg around, returning to your seated position. You can start soft, and then bring some engagement in, sitting up tall. Take your left fingers out to the left, your right leg out to the right. And sweep your right leg around behind you. This time all the weight will begin in your left hip. Roll it across towards the right until they're level. Take all the time you need to set up. We'll hold this side for just as long. And when you're ready, you can bring your chest and forehead down towards the floor. Give yourself a couple of last breaths here. And then when you're ready, lean towards the left, making space to wrap your right leg around, returning to your seated position. We'll all come back together, seated facing the front of our mats. And then take your left leg straight out in front of you. Bring the sole of your right foot against your upper thigh. Sit up as tall as you can. Reach your arms into the air. Square your shoulders towards your forward foot. And with an exhale, fold towards your foot. After a few breaths here, you may find a little side-to-side rock. Helps your sit bones shift back and allows this fold to come more from the front of your body. And come back up to seated. And we'll switch sides. Take your right leg straight out in front of you. Bring the sole of your left foot against your upper thigh. Sit up as tall as you can. Lift your arms into the air. Square your shoulders towards your foot. And then with an exhale, fold towards your foot. After a few breaths here, remembering that side-to-side rock, freeing anything that needs to be freed. With an inhale, come back up to seated. And then roll out onto your back. And take your knees over top of your chest, bring your arms to a cactus shape. And then lower your knees to the right as you shift your hips to the left. Let your focus here be both shoulders staying against the mat. And if you'd like a little bit more twist, you can turn your gaze away from your legs. Bring your knees back to center. And then lower them to the left as you shift your hips to the right. Pressing both shoulders against the mat. If you would like, turn your gaze away from your legs. Bring your knees back to center. And then take them over top of your chest as you wrap your arms around your shins. Lift your eyelids towards your knees, squeezing as close as you can. Send a wave of gratitude through your body for carrying you through your practice. And then with an exhale, spread out. Get comfortable and soft. Prepare for your final relaxation. Take one last big conscious inhale here. And then as you let that breath go, let your body's natural rhythms take over again and carry you into stillness. And begin to bring your attention back to your breath. Let your breath invite some movement, some energy back into your body. Starting small in your hands and feet. Let it travel up your arms and legs. When that energy reaches your torso, roll onto your right hand side. From your side, come up to seated. And sitting up tall, bring your hands to heart center. You can close your eyes if you like. I have a reading today from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it says, "Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. He is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdity no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on yesterday's. Thank you so much for choosing to practice today, for choosing to share your practice and your energy with everyone else who joined us. May you carry some of that shared energy with you through the rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Jeb.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.